5 of the Dune Gaming 101 podcast. I'm DJ. I'm joined by Jared. How's it going today?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I think we've been playing some Dune lately, as well as most people that are listening to us.
So,
yeah, and we're
about 322 hours of it.
That's a lot. I should check and see mine. Let me look. I'm at only 200 hours, so you have passed me by 120 hours.
3 whole work weeks.
3 whole work weeks. That tracks, because since I do work during the week, that tracks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're here to talk to you guys today about upcoming PVE and PVP changes, aka some patch notes upcoming, aka some of our experience with some of these changes and that kind of stuff. It's going to be a fun topic because it's basically going to be like about the future of Dune, the near future of Dune, and kind of how they're changing it. They're making so many changes every week. And then they did a developer Ask Me Anything on Reddit. They did some interviews and live streams, and then they released this here that you linked to me. So it talks about the patch notes, and they have a beta area now, right, that they do before they push it live, a test area, not a beta, but like a test server, right?
And a lot of games do this, and a lot of games benefit from it. I mean, we previously played a lot of League, and they had the PVE client. So it's a different client of the game that you download, and it's basically the same one that the game testers are playing. It can be a really fun way to get involved in the production of a game and have your voice heard. And it's just kind of a neat system, in my opinion, that developers do.
Yeah. So that's cool. So let's go over that today. Let's jump right into that because we got some patch notes to read through. We have an Ask Me Anything from Reddit to read through, some of those highlights. And we played a lot of the game, and we are in the end game, but we're also completing lots of the mid games too. Like you don't really kind of there's no order in which you have to do anything, so people are playing all over the place, right? So I know you spend a lot of time in the deep desert, and that area is getting more populated. I think the social hubs are getting more populated. I'm seeing a lot of people there at all times a day. We're meeting people across other Haga basins, right? And they are either joining our guild or fighting us or things like that. We can talk about that for a second. We are the only Sands guild, and we are on Karana 3 is our server.
Yep.
And so we are currently, let me see how many members we have. So we've been growing.
We have 30 yet?
26 members.
26.
And we're only allowed to have 32. So my goal for like managing a guild, I think, is to keep it like under 30. So we always have room to invite like a real life friend or a family member or someone we know that comes to the guild. Alternatively, we can also purge inactive members as we go when we see people who aren't playing anymore, and they can always come back in. 32 is such a small number. Lots of guilds have like 100 or 200 players. Yeah, 32 is pretty small. I've also seen
fill that even. Like we're reaching that limit pretty quick, but the end game has so much content that you want to do as a group, and to have your 32 players say like all be on at the same time. Some of these things take 16 players. So you need half of your player base on at the same time. I think it's just a lot to ask out of guilds.
Yeah, I think they need to raise the cap for sure. If we want to have a mega guild and a giant neutral mega guild across the whole server on all the basins, we should be allowed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to fight each other.
Allied ourselves with a couple other guilds that have, maybe similar numbers, around 12 to 16 people. And that's nice, but, the party system doesn't really let you link up with them. You have to have your own 4 people, and there's just a lot of stuff that would be better. I think that 32 cat needs to come down a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Or come up a bit.
Yep. So hopefully that's in the patch notes upcoming too, and hopefully people start talking about it. Maybe we need to start talking about it in the Discord, to get our voices heard on that. So there's been a lot of interesting developments in the game as far as like bugs, as far as them changing things about the desert. So let's go ahead and get into that because that's in these patch notes here. So I'm going to pull those up quick. Now let's talk about the highlights in the patch notes, the public test client patch notes right now that should be coming to live soon. They didn't tell us exactly when, but some changes to the sandworms. I don't really need to go into that because it's sandworms.
It's important because when you're out here and you're trying to mine a field, this is actually a big nerf for solo players. Maybe they'll show up to a field first, and they'll be able to mine it unnoticed. With this update, they're going to make the worm linger around areas that have recently been mined at, and so it'll actually alert PvP players that there's someone in the area. Especially if you kind of did solo the way I did. I was like a week or two ahead of the rest of my guild mates and going to the deep desert. I set up a solo base really near resources, and then I just kind of popped my head in and out of it and stayed safe. Well, this would kind of alert people in the sector that you're working the area and that there's a target to be had there. I think this is a kind of negative update, personally.
Okay, good. It's a hot take. See, I wouldn't have known that. I just don't have enough experience. I've gone spice mining 3 times. I've done some deep desert testing stations and some metal mining out there. And I've done the PVE area of the deep desert, which we'll talk about in a second. So it's good to get a take from someone who's like basically out there grinding, 40 hours a day in the desert and never sleeping. So it says when streamer mode's active, it looks like they're setting you to streamer mode. It'll hide your player created sync charts in your map. That could be good for people. A deep desert location. Good, so you don't get like ganked while you're streaming, I guess. That doesn't matter too much because they would have to be in your server, right? To play with you anyways. No.
Yeah.
So,
I can see it being a thing, though. I mean, when we streamed the other day, I definitely wanted my deep desert location not to show at least. So I appreciate that.
Here's 2 of the biggest highlights, I think, are in the exchange when you're buying and selling from their players in the social hub. You now are going to be able to list items and claimed. So buy and sell from your vehicle inventory of your ornithopter. That's super a mass. Cool. Yeah, it is, because like think about it now. Like you can store 1,000 metal in your copter, but you could only carry 150. Now you're going to be able to sell a bulk stack of 1,000 instead of 150. Completely game changer for the way the market's going to work. Allows you to, but that's another thing I really need them to change is the amount of listings you can have. So what if there's like a player who wants to list 100 things on the market and help fill it up for other players, and that's how he enjoys the game? He needs to be able to do that. They're currently limiting us to like 20 listings. I don't even know. I'll have to count. But it's like 15 or 20 listings you can have. I don't think it's 20. I actually think it's lower. I'd have to go look. Anyways, it's not enough because you sell a battery pack and that counts as a whole listing, and it's one single battery. So if you want to like be a battery vendor and sell vehicle fuel cells, and you want to sell 20 of them, there goes all your listings. You can't sell anything else. There's a lot of
little things like that. Like, okay, we wanted to sell Solito blueprints. I think we talked about it in another episode. But you can't even preview the base. You can't even name the base. All of the blueprints are just called Solito blueprints, which is crazy. Yep. Right now, I'm inside of our guild base in the deep desert. So we built all of this yesterday. We have the large spice refiner, kind of this in-game refiner, which gives you double the amount of spice output per spice input. Pretty big upgrade, kind of a guild level thing. Yeah, we'll just walk around there for a second. Huge hangar. It's massive. We built it for kind of speed. We don't want to spend all day doing this. You only have so many days that the base will be up.
Yeah, I've seen some people do some pretty looking bases in the deep desert, but for the most part, they're a little more industrial. People more care about getting in, getting out, getting what you need. It's like a PvP zone for now. And that kind of brings us to our next thing. The PvE area, the deep desert, they're going to be changing rows A, B, C, D, and part of E to be PvE. It's like half the desert's going to become PvE now instead of PvP.
Now that's really nice for so like 90% of the game is PvE, and I'm with the PvEers on this, even though I spend all of my time in the PvP zone, and I love fighting people in 1v1 combat. Again, coming from League, like that's thrilling to me. I enjoy team fighting too, but the whole game is PvE. So to lock the end of the game is kind of like taking away a large part of the experience from a lot of their player base. That's my hot take. I know a lot of people are really upset about the change. They're like, well, I joined the game to be a PvP player, and now they're limiting my experience of that. But I think the developers listened to their to the larger player base, and they're giving them what they want. And so I can respect that decision.
Yeah, I like it too. I think they're really listening to the player base. And so I think that's awesome. I respect the Funcom company. I've had only a couple dealings with them where they approved me as a press partner when they shared some behind the scenes stuff with me. And I thought that was really cool. And then I played in the beta, and the beta went off really smooth. And then the launch was very smooth, and they've listened to the players and changed things. Like you're saying, I like the Funcom company. I'm very impressed with them so far. I hope that they continue to impress us.
Yeah.
Next on our list of changes here is the technical instability section. And I want to skip over all of them except the last one because most of them are just bug fixes and have to do with drivers and play buttons and stuff like that. The last one is really interesting. Now you're going to be able to change between any siege in your server and claim land. You're no longer stuck on the siege that you started on. You can go to any siege and claim land in all of them now. I didn't even know this change was coming until I just read it just now. I kind of hadn't seen that. That's awesome. That means anybody who joins in the future, if our siege is full or if there's too much land claimed and they can't find the base location they want, they could go to any other siege and live there and still participate in the guild fully, and they could change over and come to any other siege freely now. That actually opens up the server.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a really good change.
That's a good one. All right, we'll go to resources, building, and crafting next. They're moving some vendor stuff around, so if you're not sure if something's missing, check other vendor locations.
We have some guildmates who are selling to vendors. And if you're not a person who likes to play the market is a little bit, we talked about some of the limitations a minute ago. There's even more. We could go into that for a while. But you've got some spare items you want to sell. It's not a terrible way to clear some inventory. We get a couple thousand for vehicle parts, this sort of thing. And I think a lot of people don't realize different vendors pay different amounts. So the vendor at Crossroads and the vendor at Anvil pay some of the better amounts for parts compared to the other two.
I didn't know that.
You trade those vendors. No.
Really?
No.
I didn't know that. And I do know that it changes, right? What they have and what they're willing to do changes every so many hours. If you look at them, it says vendor refreshing so many hours.
And then they have plus and minus to the percentage amount for whatever they're buying at that moment. Yeah, it's kind of a cool system. In RuneScape, this is a lot bigger. There are some things that you can get in game really cheap that you can sell to a vendor in some area that buys them for more. There's a special vendor that specializes in fur, and so if you bring them fur, they pay more than other vendors. There's a mechanic like this in Red Dead 2 as well. And this is how they kind of control on a meta level gold and quantity of gold, you think of the U.S. Treasury or something. So then they created money sink skills like construction, where you needed to pay it to the game, and they would that way they would kind of keep inflation down. So I wonder if we'll see some things like that too. We'll see things that players need on a daily basis that they can't farm, but they have to buy from vendors.
Yeah, we're going to need some of that. At the moment, the income is kind of slow because there's no daily repeatable quests. So once you do all the contracts, story missions, you can't make any more money that way. But that's going to change because they said they're going to be adding new daily and weekly missions that are repeatable. And they're also going to keep adding more contracts. But yes, money sinks will be important to balance out the influx of money. And you will see inflation over time, obviously, like every MMO has inflation. But we'll see how well they do in handling it with the money sinks. Now, they said they're adding 3 unique weapon schematics to Asmara Effendi. Is she just a weapons vendor in Arkeen, or is it in Harkonnen? I don't know where she is, but Asmara Effendi, weapons vendor, she's going to have 3 new schematics you can buy. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's good, because I'm tired of seeing the same 3 schematics. I thought they're going to rotate that shop, honestly. So, yeah, I'm excited to see that.
Okay, and then we got... you can now craft...
waiting on our base right now, by the way. We have this plan. We like to be merchants in general, and we're both business owners in our real life. Mm-hmm. And someone's coming by to trade me spice sand for spice melange right now.
Yes, that's cool. We set up like a little. If you're watching live on YouTube or Twitch, we set up a little exchange area in the deep desert. It's kind of a cool idea. It's like a trade hub or a free port. It's a really cute idea. I hope it works out. All right, on our resources building and crafting, you know how the regular survival fabricator and the other fabricator, like the general fabricator and survival one, it was missing a couple items, like the Solito replicators and vehicle backup tools and stuff like that.
Yeah. That was so annoying.
That's being fixed in this patch, so they'll both be able to craft everything. There won't be any. You don't need the old, which is good. That means when you get an advanced survival fabricator, you can trash the old one. When you get an advanced weapons fabricator, you can trash the old one. That's important for space in the house. We don't need to be having double of the same thing in the houses. So, blah blah. Some boring stuff. Nothing super crazy here. They're tweaking the camera view on the buggies and stuff. Visual improvements.
Yeah, it's nice.
Adding some range information to different stuff, some of the abilities, so you know how far they go. Let's see.
These are like normal patch notes for any game. I want to see more of these patch notes too. I want to see them balancing more of the skills more often. Because right now, maybe there's not enough input because in the last week even, we've seen a huge explosion of people in the deep desert. I think it just took people a little while to get out here. My first week playing, there was 1-2 bases in Sector A. Now they're lining up the entire cliff. It's crazy.
All right, so I do want to read some. I like the patch notes, and I think we'll probably do a weekly episode, or whenever they release new patch notes, we'll probably do an episode covering it because this is super interesting. And lots of people like to hear about them instead of reading them. Like me personally, I always love to listen to League of Legends podcasts that talk about the patch notes because they have opinions on them beyond just what they say.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
what's our next patch? Yeah.
Dispenser dash will now cost 20% maximum power instead of a flat cost of 75.
Yeah, we see a lot of these in other games, and changing flat cost versus percentage cost. I understand what they're doing there. They're making it more accessible for low levels, but it's so fast to get to a Mark IV or Mark V power pack. I feel like this is kind of a stupid one. I don't use the skill anyway, but yeah.
So they're reducing the poise damage resistance on Thrive of Danger to 34 from 50. Yeah, that won't be as good, but it's so that you can't have a 100% resistance to it.
Yeah.
To staggering, right?
I want to know what that 100% build is because I hate getting staggered and I had to run it.
But that's all. But you know what? They found it. They immediately got rid of it.
Yeah,
so the next one is so good. You can no longer jump when you've been crippling striked. So the Swordmaster has a crippling strike move where he goes to the ankles. Players, it slows them. It increases their stamina cost, I believe. And now they won't even be able to jump either, that's going to make it critical for PvP. I'm switching that to my thing when I PvP because if you can get on top of someone and hold them there, they're toast.
I'm running it right now because it's so powerful. I think it's a little bit underused, but it also, people don't realize it doubles the stamina cost of their next maneuver. So if they go to dodge you, they're using a full stamina bar instead of a half a stamina bar to do that dodge. And really the name of the game in PvE is just like any other game running out of mana. It's about running your opponent out of stamina. So anything you can do to make them use more stamina than you use, that's going to be your winning combo in the end of the engagement. I think Crippling Strike is going to dominate the scene for a bit.
That's fine. Melee seems to be off to a good start so far, but I think some players who know how to kite properly and use dispenser belts and hover with range, that's going to come out good too. But that's a very skilled way to combat. That's probably harder to do than running at somebody with a sword. So we'll see. So now they're going to make it so performing melee attacks within the gravity field grenades allows you to do an exhausted attack instead of not being able to move at all, which is interesting. So they're updating the range damage passive ability description of them. It increases damage with all ranged weapons, not just darts. Okay, so if you're getting range damage passives, it's all ranged weapons, not just dart weapons. I guess that's just a text change to let people know, clarify it. And then they have the poison tooth animate, symbol or whatever is going to better convey how it works, I guess. I don't know what that means. I never really had an issue with that. More camera tweaks when boosting. Improved interaction with vehicles. should be easier to enter and exit them from different angles, or enter them from different angles. Okay. Ground vehicles now have a failsafe system against being stuck in flipped state. Okay, that's good. Improved ground vehicle behavior. Yep. Exiting ornithopters midair will now make them drop straight down instead of gliding away endlessly.
Thank you. Huge improvement. One of the only times I've died is my only time being eaten by the worm was being ejected from my ornithopter in the deep desert and running 4,500 meters, getting within 100 meters of my ornithopter before he got me. This is the most frustrating experience. Yeah.
I lost mine too.
Great.
The same way. I hit E and I fell out and it flew way off, and then I got stuck in a rubber band loop, a total bug, and I could not move. And then the worm, it waited like 10 minutes before the worm finally ate me, but I just couldn't move.
Bug is still happening, by the way. We had half a fleet yesterday. We were flying 8 deep, and we had 4 people flying, stuck in quicksand. They're flying 700 meters up in the air, and they were stuck in the quicksand below. And so we had to start navigating our route around the quicksand pits yesterday. They were so bugged. That's
fun.
Yeah.
All right. The grenade, they're doing some balancing tweaks as well. The gravity fields, you'll now be able to move out of them instead of being stuck in one spot when you're in them. So that's good. When you get stuck in a gravity grenade field, you'll be able to wiggle your way out and get out of it now. And then NPCs now will not be stuck in their animation. If you move out of melee range, they'll stop their animation and chase you, which is actually a buff to NPCs. Okay.
I was going to say, I already have issues with those melee guys. So, yeah, I've heard that if you run the bubble, I think from the trooper class, it helps you funnel those guys when you're playing solo. And I might have to run it. I struggle a lot when there's a bunch of melee guys attacking me.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about the combat. What are the easiest guys? Because you got flamethrower guys, machine gun guys, you have basic gun guys, and then you got sword guys and knife guys. So what would you like your most annoying?
Sword. Dude, definitely the sword guys.
Those guys are
sword guys.
Those are pretty tough. I think my least favorite though is the bulky machine gun guys. They're kind of hard to kill, especially the harder ones. Like if you're on the correct gear level when you're fighting them, they're hard. Obviously, if you're over geared and over leveled, they're easier. But if you're fighting correct gear level ones, it's really hard to kill them before they knock you back. And then when they knock you back or blow you back, you're stunned for a second and everybody else in the room kills you. And then when you go down, they machine gun you and you're dead. Whether it's a flamethrower or machine gun, you're basically toast when you go down, as opposed to like a sword or a knife guy. In my experience, like once I'm down on the floor, they at least usually let me get up. But not if there's a machine gun guy. You're toast. But swords is a close second for me. I think those guys are pretty obnoxious. They're very fast. And once you start getting staggered, it's really hard to do anything about it.
Man, I just did this trade, and I got another piece of feedback for them. I traded in the sand, is obviously heavier than my inventory of the launch. And so I just dropped half of the trade on the ground.
Oh, that's embarrassing and awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward. All right. Control points in the deep desert are now PvP areas. Okay. I would have thought that they always were, but that's fine. You know what? They got rid of the salvage buggy in Imperial Testing Station number 10. They're replacing it with a broken buggy now. So you can't salvage the buggy indoors now and slice it up. Aw. We made a whole a video thing on that, or we talked about that experience in the beta, where we salvaged the buggy in the testing station. Yeah. Fun times. I guess it's going away. They're making a bunch of quest improvements, it looks like. Let's see. Yep, mostly some quest bug fixes and quest clarification to contracts and the journey stories and that. Let's see. Updated colors for recipes. Added keybind for take. Quick loot. Okay, that's good. Added support for unfavoring items in inventory loadout by pressing the T key while hovering them. Okay. Updated icons. Updated colors. Updated icons for more stuff. The compass shows a consistent colored outline representing which zone the player is in. That's interesting. I never really looked at it. The compass still confuses me, and the compass doesn't really work that well half the time. Things overlap each other, or like the grouping mechanic that's bugged right now, where you group up and you can't see your teammates. You have to break group and regroup, or go to the same zone as them. Oh, that's kind of annoying too, right? So,
yeah.
Additional step in delete character progress to make sure you actually want to delete your character. That's good.
Yeah.
In the UI, when changing something, when you change what you're trading to somebody, now you have to re-ready. That's a basic thing in MMOs, so that you don't like hit ready and somebody changes what they were giving you and then hits ready and you lost the trade, like they scammed you. They changed this, so now you have to re-ready every time. That's been basic in every MMO I've ever played. That you have to.
I mean, we're doing this right now, and I'm even recalculating each time. It works out every time. 900 divided by 75 is 12, but I still plug it into the calculator each time. Even it's just this kind of good habits in MMO trading that prevent you from getting screwed over.
Yep. Let's see here. Party UAI. To show the correct amount of slots available in a party, which is 4. We know that. In the exchange, items can now be listed and claimed from the vehicle inventory. We knew that. We said that earlier in this episode. Improve the text dialogue you get when choosing to visit a friend on another server. Okay. Players can now report other players' messages from the text chat. That's good. We like that. They don't get
lame
racial slurs and things. We can report that now. Looks like they made a bunch of graphical and VFX changes and lighting changes. We won't have to go through those. Audio changes as well. They made a bunch of... The volume of the Ornithopter start engine has been lowered. Excellent. That's actually a good volume change. When you start up your...
the volume of the Assault Ornithopter engine?
All Ornithopter engines. Yeah, the volume of the engine is lowered now, so it's not so loud.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking of weight, game volume. Oh, dope. Yeah, man, that stuff is so loud.
Yeah, some of the stuff is unusually loud. Let's see. They fixed some deep desert crashes. Cool. They fixed some unresponsive logins. Cool. I'm just skimming through these to see the death location marker now appears after the character dies. Okay. When they're offline. Interesting. It must have been like a PvP issue. When the player has no other subfiefs on the map and builds one, it'll set as the default spawn location. Okay. Fixed an issue that caused players to sometimes enter loading screen when exiting a vehicle in the deep desert. Well, that would be bad. You just went to load screen every time you exited a vehicle in the deep desert? That'd be bad.
Yeah.
Resources building and crafting. Loot bags dropped on placeables should no longer fall inside them. Okay. Fixed an issue that would make the subfief console's projection linger after it's been destroyed. That's fine. It should now be possible to highlight and demolish pentashields that lack power. Cool. Harkonnen Prudence doors now play a pass-through sound effect. Cool. Let's see. I don't see much. I'm going to keep skimming through here. Characters changes, model changes, crouch animation changes, repair icon changes, combat. Fixed a problem in Swordmaster after image effect that allowed it to see through environmental VFX. I never experienced that. I'm seeing... Melee attacks can no longer critically hit targets. Interesting. I bet you that's a deal, but I'm not sure. I don't want to track my critical strikes generally, so I wouldn't really know. So skipping through. Most of these are bug fixes at this point, but they fixed some bouncing issues. Like you ever see yourself jumping on and off the bike or jumping in and out of a helicopter nonstop. They fixed some of those issues, it looks like. And travel. Oh, wow. So apparently you might have been able to jump in a vehicle that was traveling between realms. if you jumped in after it was traveling, and you could cheese the system. Interesting. World building and exploration. The player will no longer fully lose radiation on logout. Oh, so you could have been logging out to lose your radiation. What a hack
this
you
whole
can do right
time?
now. This whole time, you can do it right now. If you're listening before this patch comes out, you can log out to lose full radiation. So you'll be radiating in the radiation zone, mining, and then just log out, log back in every time and keep mining. That's how you do it. So go get your rare Jasminium ores, guys, while you can. All right. Let's see. Just skimming through these. Nothing super interesting besides that. Wait, when the welding torch is in customized mode, vehicle modules now get highlighted properly. Speaking of that, the welding torch needs some serious work when it comes to repairing vehicles and pointing at things you want to repair and detach. That is ridiculous. Like, not being able to point at the engine and repair it because the hole's in the way. That's silly. You have to like stand on the leg of the chopper and hit it from a certain angle or something to repair it. So hopefully a lot of those changes are hidden in here. I'm skimming through a lot of them, but I bet you a lot of them hopefully are in there. So yeah, there's so many changes I'm kind of skimming over to get to some of the more exciting stuff for us. But their patch notes are available at duneawakening.com /news / whatever the patch notes are. So if you guys go there, you can read these patch notes in the fullest as well. Looks like they addressed some Dew Reaper stuff with the Dew Reapers, fixed an issue with the cinematics in the Assassin's Handbook. If you guys haven't done that, after you finish your 8 trials, you open up a new journey called the Assassin's Handbook. And I guess they're fixing some of the cinematics with that. So that's good. Wow, this is huge. This is a huge list of things they are fixing. It is crazy. All right, but that's it for that. Let's talk about something more exciting before we get out of here. See, we've already been going. How long is this? 32 minutes. So we got a little time left. Let's cover a couple things that are just fast, and we can talk about briefly. Sound good?
Okay.
Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so let me go over to. I recapped. There was a developer ask me anything, and you know what? Yeah. So let's do. The developer asked me anything. Was on Reddit, and I kind of already recapped it and bullet pointed it for my guild on our Discord server. So if you guys want to join our Discord server, you guys can look in the description of this podcast episode and in the description of the YouTube channels, and you'll be able to join our Discord from that. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the exciting things that are coming to the game, but not yet, like coming in the future, things that are on the list, right? So July, coming up in the next 7 days, we have quality of life updates. Then they're going to be doing major updates to the game every 3 to 4 months, which will be like DLC and things like that. And new contracts coming, more story coming, more daily repeatable missions and weekly. We covered that. They said there some of the buffs and nerfs we didn't get to talk about was the Ornithopter ones, where they're going to be speeding up the booster of Ornithopters and slowing them down and slowing down their maneuverability with rockets, right? And you could talk a little bit about that. How has been the air-to-air combat in PvP so far?
It's good. It's definitely skilled, but it is heavily dominated by like tier. So like if you're a tier 4 fighting a tier 5, the tier 5 is pretty much going to win regardless of the guy's skill. You can't really be a good enough tier 4 pilot. Which isn't all terrible. I mean, the progression is nice, but when you're farming the item to make the tier 6 in an area that you're being attacked by tier 6s, that makes it a little hard.
I think there's room for user error. I think if both people are equally skilled or close skilled, then that would probably be the case. But come on, like imagine we've met some players, and we won't say any names or anything. We've met some players on the server who are clearly less skilled at PvP. They just don't understand the movement of it. And so flying a copter is no different. Understanding like dodging and thinking where people are going to be going, right? Is that what you were getting at? You're saying like the ship-to-ship combat, you just feel completely overpowered with the MK6 versus a Mark IV, right?
Yeah. I mean, now let's be clear. I'm not the best at this specific combat system. I'm better at the ground combat. But even with that, I mean, the maneuverability of a tier 6 chopper, you have no chance in a tier 5. They can get behind you in ways that like you're not able to maneuver in any way to avoid. So
then in most cases, yeah, that makes sense. In most cases, you just wouldn't stand a chance.
And if you're running a scout with storage or something, and they have the same maneuverability as you have, but with rockets, you can't run from them. Like you can't disengage from the fight anyway. If they see you, you're just dead on sight. Yeah, and so I appreciate that, because at least for the people out there running assault ornithopters or running scout ornithopters with storage, they have an option to kind of run from the fight instead of stay there. Oh, sorry. Which I think the PvPers are probably would be a little displeased about, because it means less loot for them. I can't even loot people's freaking ornithopters. I blow them up. I go to loot them. There's nothing in them. So I don't know if people are just doing nothing out there, or how that system works. But I mean, the loot system here just sucks for PvP. There's really no incentive to PvP people. You don't get gear. If you're in the desert, no one's carrying 50k on them or something. If you're PvPing in Hog a Basin, maybe someone's running a quest and forgot, and they're carrying 50k on them, so whatever. Mm-hmm. But out in the desert, you get nothing. Nothing from the kill at all.
Yeah, at the point right now, it's more about controlling the land, I think, and the resources, and not about individual kills. Like you're saying, racking up 10 1v1 kills means absolutely nothing. Besides the fact that you can do it, so hopefully they do change the loot system a little bit, and the vehicle loot system would also be awesome to see. Imagine it just gave you like 10% of the parts that cost to make the vehicle dropped or something. That'd be fine. Anything would be fine, better than nothing.
By the
definitely
way,
have the storage drop.
A full assault chopper worth of spice melange with this guy.
Is he in the guild or is he out of the guild?
Yep. Random player. I just have a message in the server letting people know I'm up to exchange spice for spice sand, or melange for spice sand, and he came into the trade.
That's awesome. It's nice that people trust people. It's a really nice community, because there's no way people would trust people in games like EVE Online or World of Warcraft. People would scam each other so hard, and so far in this game, most of our interactions have been with genuine people, honest people. I was at a PvP engagement last night with a couple of friends, and we weren't trying to PvP, but we came across the shipwreck and there was PvP there, and we bumped into some other guys, and we said, hey, you know what? You guys were here first. Go ahead. And none of us shot each other, and we just walked away. Not everybody wants to kill everybody in the game, which is cool. And it's really nice that you're able to trade with people and they trust you to do trading and not like lock you in their house or something, with their spice. Like it's glad that don't get any ideas, people listening. Don't get any ideas, people.
Just locked them in here.
Yeah. So, all right. So more exciting things coming. Let's cover that quick. Renaming storage containers in vehicles. Yay!
Yeah, so important.
They're not going to be making changes to identifying ungrouped people. And they're not going to make changes to the minimap. There'll be no minimap. They said that it took away from the game immersion in the feel of Dune, and they don't want to do that. So you're going to have to just look at them around you and visually recognize things, I guess.
We've been engaging in combat with friendly guilds in PvP combat, both on the ground and in the air. I will say on the ground, it's more difficult because of the auto-targeting system. Your character poises up and tries to fight your teammates. And you have a lot less control over what exactly you do in that situation. In the air, actually pretty easy with Discord. I mean, you're not always able to see the other ornithopters as directly as you would a player anyway. And so you're able to just kind of say like, hey, our target is at XYZ, we're above here, under here, whatever it is. And everyone's kind of able to coordinate fire on that target. And you're able to do things like, your voice, and so the other players can't see, hey, is that you? Like, move to the left, or like enter hover mode for a second. You enter hover mode, okay, that's friendly, and you move on. Like there are ways to get around it, and so I'm actually into it. I don't think it's bad that you can't see people, but it would make things really nice like when we're doing larger raids, we make things really nice. And I think instead of nerfing that, what they're trying to do is prevent people from getting ganged up on. What they should do instead is just decrease like group damage. So like if you're being targeted by one person, you just took damage from a rocket, they should reduce the damage of a second rocket from a different player by like 50% or something. Whatever. They can balance this so that if you get hit by 20 dudes firing a rocket at you at the same time, you have a chance to limp away if that's the intention. Because it is very difficult for smaller groups. And I think the game is best enjoyed in small groups anyway.
I think it is. Even when we get in Discord and we have 8 people and 3 of them are doing something and one's doing something else and 4 doing, it's too much people. We always have to split Discord channels. It's too much. The only exception would be that if you could do a raid against a boss fight and you could have 8 players, 8 players grouped, 8 people voicing, because that's other MMOs. But aside from that, most of the time we do all split into smaller groups to do stuff and accomplish things.
And that's coming up, isn't it? They're gonna introduce raid bosses too.
Yes, that's gonna be so fun. So that's let's talk about some things that are coming.
About that.
Sand walking is coming. You'll be able to walk over the sand with a sand walking technique.
Tell them your hot take. What do you think the next skill is, or the next skill tree is?
I think it's going to be a medic. I think it's going to be the Souk Doctor. So in the intro of the game, Paul Atreides is talking to us, and he's like, the rise of the machines, and so we invented swordsmen and Bene Gesserits and Souk Doctors and this, and he explains them all, and Souk Doctor is the only one that's not in the game. So I bet you we're going to get a healing class, which would be cool to have a dedicated healer on your team that could stand behind everybody and heal them and keep them alive. It would make PvP way more annoying because you have to focus the healer. But it is something.
It would add a better group dynamic to it than just everyone shooting a dude with a shotgun.
Yeah, like last time, so 2 or 3 of us would jump within a sword and we mess each other up trying to fight the same guy. It'd be cool if you could have a healer to give someone, different play style. Player duels are also coming, which will be awesome. So you can duel friends.
Yeah, we'll be fighting.
Let's see.
We already did a player duel, and we're going to, as a guild event, start doing a couple more. It's nice to kind of hone your skills against friends before you have to fight a real enemy.
Yes, for sure. Let's talk about some of our guild events we've done quick, and then we'll get back to what's coming soon. So we've done a deep desert mining event as a guild. We have done. We'll have one scheduled to be a sand bike race. We're going to do a sand bike race across Haga Basin and give out prizes, and people in our guild and in our server on our server will be able to participate in this, win prizes, and race an MK2 sand bike across the desert just for fun. I think fun community events like this are important for both guild, getting to know each other, just having fun in the game. Like a sandbox environment allows you to do this. Many MMOs don't give you this kind of privilege or this kind of ability. This one does. It's a sandbox. You can do crazy events like that really have nothing to do with the game, but they can be fun and you can be creative and invent them. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
And then a dueling event, like we were saying. We're going to have both combat in the air and ground combat dueling events for our guild so that they can practice PvP situations in a low-pressure environment and get the hang of it. That way when we go into PvP, people kind of know what they're doing. So.
It also is just a good general teamwork thing if you are running with a couple guys. I mean, again, people can only party in 4 people in a group. So if you just play with 4 friends and you guys coordinate and work a little bit. We ran into a 4-stack the other day that were really good. I mean, yeah, they're really good. So, yeah, keep at it.
So we mentioned more. We're getting back to things that are coming. We mentioned boss fights, raids, dungeon-style content. They're going to be working on more of that for us to give us more to do in a PvE. They have elevators coming to base building. Yeah. So you'll be able to have an elevator that takes you up and down the rift, specifically, they said. So you could have a vehicle.
A lot of people are excited about that one.
That'll be good. New maps like Haga Basin are coming to the overworld map. That's what they said. I don't know what that means, but it means new areas that are explorable, I'd imagine. On the overworld map, like a PvE zone, maybe. A new 3rd faction is coming. Let's circle back to the other one in a second, but there's a new faction coming. New updates coming to the social hub.
What do you think that faction is? I know we're going to do later because you've completed the story and I haven't, but yeah, what do you think that faction is?
I think it's going to be something weird. Like my first guess is it could be Fremen. Like they unlocked the Fremen faction.
I think it's going to be. I think the next class will be Fremen, and the next faction will be Fremen. How about that?
Yeah, All right, so that's a hot guess. We'll see. I guess we'll see. So I do think something like that's coming. They're going to make you more formidable. Another one that they might do instead might just be one of the other houses that is in history, and you know the Dune lore outside of the books. You know the Dune lore better than I do.
Yeah.
So there's probably like some other major houses that they could introduce, or they could do something like the Telexu as a faction. And
That'd be very interesting.
Yeah, that could be weird.
I'd like that.
They do play a couple different parts in the story, in different parts of the story throughout the game already. Some contracts, some main story missions. They show up a few times, so maybe. And then there was another one. Oh, what about the Imperium? Would the Imperium not be a faction?
That'd be a little interesting. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Could have some weird stuff. The Bene Gesserit could be a faction, but are they really a faction? I don't know.
That would be one of the. I mean, I know they're class 2, but that would be one of the kind of main factions of the universe.
Yeah. Let's see here. And the Chom, the mining guild or whatever they are, right? Mm-hmm. Could you maybe join that faction?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
The one that controls spice and all that in space travel. They did say the ability to travel to other planets is on their to-do list. And this came from an interview with the creative director, the head guy, the head honcho. He said he has a notebook, a spreadsheet, and he opened it up during the interview and showed it and shared it. He said, these are things that have to come to the game because they're important to Dune. One of them was riding sandworms. He said that obviously, he said, how could we not do that? You have to do that. One, he said, was space travel and visiting other planets. He said that, it may not happen right away, but it's on his list because it kind of needs to be done. So the idea, that sounds really cool. I think that would be a very big DLC, like an expansion to the game. They're definitely going to charge you for that one, I'm sure. Coming back down to a smaller note, the social hubs will be changing regularly. So like seasonally for different events, stuff in the social hubs will continue to change and stay fresh for people. They're adding a hotkey to change your seat while you're driving and riding, so you can change to do mining and driving easier. You don't have to use the toggle menu. Farming plants might be coming, so you could have like a garden and stuff inside your base, like a greenhouse.
I hate farming in games.
I'm not big into it either, but some people might like it.
I just don't like that as a thing, but there are a lot of people who enjoy it. So if you do, I'm happy that's coming for you. Now, I do want to circle back. Some of our guild members will like it.
I think so, yeah. I can think of a few off the top of my head that would probably enjoy that.
Yeah.
Now, I want to circle back to the Haga Basin-like areas coming to the overworld map, because in case people don't know, I don't consider this a spoiler because I'm not going to spoil anything about the story or the lore or anything. But as you play through the main storyline, new areas do open on the Haga Basin map. Not the Haga Basin map, on the overworld map. When you leave the Haga Basin and can fly over the overworld, there's whole areas that open up. There's shipwrecks. There's, houses and facilities that open up on the overworld map that you can visit that are important to the story. And some of them you can only visit one time, and you can't go back after you're done doing the mission. But they are playing with the overworld map already, so they're going to be adding new PVE areas essentially too, that you'll be able to go leave Haga Basin, go there and maybe build. And I wonder how that's going to work with all the different sieges sharing that area. Or I wonder if there's going to be one tied to the siege and maybe they'll tie them siege to siege. Because imagine 10 sieges going to build in one area. It just wouldn't work. So
yeah,
I'm sure they'll fix that when the time comes. I think that's all we got for today. It's a pretty nice long episode for everybody. It went about 48 minutes. Before we leave, do you have any closing thoughts on any of this before I tell everybody where to follow us and all that?
No, I'm excited to see the game evolve, and although I've been enjoying the PvP aspect, I'm excited to see most of our clan are PvE people. So I'm actually excited to see them exploring the desert with me, and I play it to play with people, so it'll be a good change.
Yes, I agree. I'm excited for it too. So, all right. So, if you enjoy our podcast, guys, we need you to show us some love and some support. Please like the episodes, follow us on Spotify or wherever you listen. Leave us a 5-star review. And the biggest way podcasts grow is by telling friends. So tell other friends and tell other players if you like our podcast and our episode and you want to see more of it. There's not a whole lot of podcasts out there for Dune right now. And so show us a little love. Help us keep making more episodes. The more listens we get and the more 5-star reviews, the more episodes we're going to make. We are doing this just as a fun project, and we're passionate about. And we'd like to do more episodes every week, more than one. We'd like to do 2 episodes a week and that kind of thing. So leave us some 5-star reviews. You can join our Discord as well if you'd like, just to chat with us and just see other people playing the game. You can find us on YouTube and Twitch. We're Dune Gaming 101. And I don't think we have any other social medias yet. So Discord server, Twitch, and YouTube are the main places to find us. And I think that's it for today. So I guess we'll see you guys next time.